What is good, y'all? Sean the Smooth Game Man back with yet another reaction video, baby. And today we are back with another Naruto anime based video. What's up, gang? And you guys gotta let me know down below if you guys are really rocking with these videos so I can keep bringing more. We got a couple coming out here soon, so be on the lookout for those. Turn that bell on so you guys can know when this anime content is dropping, as well as if you want to support, please like the video, subscribe if you're random to the family, man, subscribe to the channel, so that way we can push this out to more people and reach that goal of 5K. Thank y'all so much for all the love and support as it already stands, and everything that you guys already do on a week by week, day by day basis for your boy. Now today we have the Otsutsukis explained. I think this is well worth a little deep dive into. I mean, with the experience or the introduction to Boruto, we've learned a lot more about Kaguya and her clan or family, you know what I'm saying, her lineage, a lot deeper than we did get in Naruto Shippuden. Obviously, because the only thing we got there was kind of like in the war arc. So it's getting flushed out, it's getting explained. There's crazy new abilities. We see how extremely powerful they are, how much control they have. But I don't think they've gone deep enough. So we're gonna see if he explains it very well, goes into a deeper dive to give us more of an understanding of it. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys already know, but let's see if we agree with some of the points that he's got to talk about here today. I don't know if this, obviously, we're probably not ranking the Otsutsukis, but at least going into a little deeper dive of explaining them and getting my interest at least further deepened by this. So let me know if it helps you guys out too as well. Without further ado though, let's jump into it.
The history of the Otsutsukis is hilariously complicated, but I kind of understand it, which means shortly, so will you. However, what I'm hoping we can figure out together over the duration of this video is who is truly the strongest Otsutsuki. What is the power ranking? And I know it might seem clear-cut to you, but I really don't think it's as clear-cut as we think it is. But before we get into literally anything, let's go ahead and make sure we've already liked this video, subscribe to this page, and hit that noti bell. Because if you like anime theories or anime explained or anything anime in general, you're gonna love this page. So let's quickly cover the history of...
If you like anime reacted to, you're gonna love this page. Go ahead and subscribe for you, boy.
The Otsutsukis. Quickly is the wrong term. This is actually probably going to take a while. The Otsutsuki clan has been traveling through space and time for literal eons, traveling through dimensions in order to find planets worthy in order to plant their 10-tailed seedling in order to grow a divine tree. In a sense, the Otsutsukis are parasitic aliens who use the growing of this divine tree and the consumption of the chakra fruit that it bears in order to boost their strength. This is, of course, with the end goal of becoming what we have learned to be called an Otsutsuki god. One becomes an Otsutsuki god by consuming X amount of chakra fruits. We don't really know. Obviously, the strength of the chakra fruit, depending on the strength of the Otsutsuki fed to the divine tree, obviously has some kind of way to play into it, but we don't know how many they need to eat. We also don't know if there is several Otsutsuki gods. It seems as though there is. As to what this Otsutsuki god does in the greater cosmos, we don't necessarily know. We do have theories about whether or not we're going to see a new one formed. That video should be right about here, talking about whether or not Boruto is going to be our next Otsutsuki god. But all in all, the motivations of the Otsutsuki...
And obviously let me know if y'all want me to react to that video too. I don't know why I pointed like it's above me. If y'all want me to react to that video too as well.
They are relatively straightforward. They travel in pairs, one being a higher ranking and one being a lower ranking. Once they get to a planet of interest and they put the 10 tails down, the lower ranking Otsutsuki is fed to the 10 tails to become a divine tree. The divine tree then grows by consuming the chakra and genetic material of all living life forms on that planet. And this leads us to our first instance of Otsutsuki history as it represents itself on the Naruto world, I guess. A literal millennium ago, really like 2,000 years ago, Kaguya and Ishiki descended to Earth, where Kaguya was supposed to be fed to the 10 tails, but instead desired the chakra fruit herself. So she jumped Ishiki. Ishiki narrowly escapes death using his Hikone Hikona, you know, the thing that makes either like him or other things small as long as they're not living, and flees, putting himself in Jigen, a monk who he finds, brain while he's microscopic, and then parasitically seeping into that brain in order to take over Jigen's body. Mind you, they landed 2,000 years ago. Jigen is 2,000 years old. Nobody talks about that. They're like, oh wow, Jigen, this vessel is failing. No shit. He's 2,000 years old. It's at this point, though, that Kaguya somehow makes a divine tree. People theorize that she fed the 10 tails the lower half of Ushiki's body, but that's just a theory. We really don't know how it happened. But as the divine tree grew and consumed the life of things around it, Kaguya formed an attachment for the planet. So much so that she actually fell in love with a human, a man by the name of Tenji, a leader of a kind of rudimentary, very primal village. Tenji was a very peaceful man, hoping to solve conflicts without war. But one day when him and Kaguya were alone, Kaguya was abducted by his village's rivals. Kaguya, being an Otsutsuki, a literal god race, murdered all of the regular human beings who didn't have chakra, and Tenji was like, oh, bet? And naturally freaked out a bit. Kaguya then proceeds to kind of overcorrect and
you don't like
eats the
strong
chakra
women?
fruit of the world tree and puts everybody, including Tenji and Infinite Tsukiyomi. And to be honest, this kind of works. Infinite Tsukiyomi stops the entire world's population from its endless cycle of war, kind of like how Madara wanted. And for a while, the world just saw Kaguya as a really cool god. They were like,
oh yeah, she stopped the war.
Until Kaguya got paranoid and thought that maybe the Otsutsuki clan would be pissed about a lower ranking Otsutsuki eating the chakra fruit and jumping the higher ranking Otsutsuki, so she converted the people in Infinite Tsukiyomi into white Zetsu. Believe it or not, humans weren't stoked about that. They were like,
oh, we liked the no war bit, but now the whole slave to you bit, not awesome.
And the Otsutsukis used this as a final act to deem her as a traitor. What Kaguya didn't know this whole time, though, is that Tenji had some swimmers on him, and she was pregnant with 2 sons, Hagoromo and Hamura. And much to her chagrin, these 2 children were born with chakra, something that she was the only person who had because she ate the divine fruit. So once again, she got paranoid because she was like, well, I was the only person who was supposed to have this, and schemed a way to get the chakra from her 2 sons by absorbing them. Problem is, though, she had to absorb the divine tree first, which essentially made her into a 10 tails, and we don't know why, because it goes against all conventional knowledge of Otsutsuki-dom. We have a video about how Kaguya is a walking plot hole right about here. Hagoromo and Hamura then used Shibuka Tensei in order to make her essentially the moon. Actually, they do literally make her the moon. The moon didn't exist until Hagoromo and Hamura used Shibuka Tensei. What was controlling the oceans? I don't know. And it was at this point that Hagoromo took the chakra of the 10 tails into himself, becoming the Sage of 6 Paths, and the husk of the 10 tails, also known as the demonic path of the demonic statue of the outer path, that's the one also known as the ghetto statue, was sealed on the moon with Kaguya. And somebody's got to go keep an eye on Mom, so Hamura goes out to the moon. What's interesting here, though, is that Hagoromo stays on Earth with Hamura's direct bloodline, aka the people who would become the Hyugas. But Hamura also takes other Otsutsukis with him out to the moon. Hamura and these Otsutsukis then keep an eye on the Earth in order to make sure that Hagoromo is doing a bang-up job, and they use the power of Hamura's Tenseigan in order to do so. If you don't know what the Tenseigan is, once again, there's a video right about over here explaining the Byakugan alt ability.
That seems like a pretty good video. All Byakugan abilities explained. I'm gonna have to write that one down. It's a good video to do.
And in that video, the Tenseigan is also explained. I'm sorry, Cody, for all the hyperlinks. It's at this point that Hagoromo is like, I think chakra is the one thing that connects all people on Earth, and I'm going to use it to spread positivity and peace. So he goes around the Earth teaching people ninshu. And people, being people, figure out how to make that into fireballs so they could shoot it at each other. Looking at you, Uchihas. Then Hagoromo, at the end of his life, splits the chakra inside of him, the 10 tails, into 9 tails, so that if Kaguya ever comes back, she won't be able to catch them all, essentially. I just punched my mic. And he skips over his oldest son, Indra, and looks at Ashura and says,
it is up to you to continue talking and showing the world peace through the way of ninshu.
And this is when Black Zetsu enters the party, because Black Zetsu is the amalgamation of Kaguya's will that she spit out right before she got sealed into the moon in order to seed chaos and also get her revived one day. And he slithers up to Indra's ear and goes, oh, you were the oldest son. Weren't you supposed to inherit Hagoromo's will like the snake in Eden's garden, essentially? And this starts the cycle of the Indra and Ashura reincarnation battle until eventually Sasuke and, Naruto do the thing. Kiss. Kiss is what I mean. That's all good and dandy. That's the entire events of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. But what's going on the moon? Well, just like Hagoromo, Hamura got old and died, but he still had that nifty little eye, the Tenseigan, and he left a celestial plaque saying, hey, please, my Otsutsuki's brothers and sisters, keep an eye on Hagoromo's Earth. Make sure it doesn't stray from his way of peace. And after his death, the Otsutsukis on the moon took his Tenseigan and put it in a shrine, treating it like a religious artifact. They would take the Byakugans out of the eyes of newborn children and feed it to the Tenseigan in order to keep its power preserved. But here's the problem. On the moon, they had the exact same problem as they had on Earth. The misinterpretation of Hagoromo and Hamura's will. Essentially, two factions began on the moon. One faction saying that we need to destroy the Earth because it has deviated from Hagoromo's will of peace, and the other faction saying that we simply need to continue watching over the Earth because that is what Hamura wanted. Eventually, these two factions began to war, and the we need to destroy the Earth faction won. Over time, that faction dwindles down. Apparently, Otsutsukis just don't like doing the deed, and so eventually, we are only left with Toneri Otsutsuki on the moon. Toneri sees the Ten Tails husk get pulled off the moon, sees Kaguya get released from the moon, sees the war on Hagoromo's Earth, and realizes that this isn't what he would have wanted. So he reaches out to his closest descendants, the Hyugas, and says, I will make a deal with you. Give me your Byakugan so I can power the Tenseigan and restart Hagoromo's world anew with peace. Genocide. He wanted to kill everyone. And they said no, believer. They were like,
No, it's not. Let's not kill everyone. We're not great. We're not great people. The Hyugas aren't great people, but like let's stop before genocide.
So he got angry and he abducted Hinata, who is the heir of the Hyuga clan, in order to take her Byakugan and activate the Tenseigan so he could pop that into his face and essentially destroy the Earth like he wanted to. If we're being real, with the way Hinata looked in the last, I would have tried to run away with her too. Naruto doesn't like this. He takes a portal in a cave that takes him to the moon. The moon gets cut in half. Him and Hinata put the moon back together. Toneri gets defeated. Hinata gets the last of Hamura's chakra. That's why we think Boruto has the Jogan, and the last was a masterpiece. But because of the events that have taken place in Boruto, we know that Toneri is actually still alive and on the moon. And speaking of Boruto, we're now in the Boruto timescape. So now that we're in Boruto, we're talking Momoshiki and Kenshiki. And I'm willing to admit, this is a bit weird. Essentially, Momoshiki and Kenshiki are in, I'm assuming, their own planet kind of dimension, much like how Kaguya had her own kind of planet/dimension. You know, where she finally finishes the job that the boulder couldn't on Obito. And in this world, we see Momoshiki standing next to Kenshiki. And there is 13 divine trees in front of them. Like 13 and a half. One of them's broken, which leads us to speculate and not know for sure that Momoshiki has consumed the chakra fruit of 13 separate planets, which would also mean that Kenshiki has died 13 times, which also means that Momoshiki hasn't reached the threshold of Otsutsuki God, and he's already eaten 13 planets. How many do you need? But Momoshiki and Kenshiki are sent to Earth with the addition of Oroshiki, who's technically not manga canon, in order to investigate what's going on with Kaguya. And according to Oroshiki, and once again, a non-canon moment, they have seen everything that happened with Kaguya, including the events of the last, which they call the Princess Hyuga incident, essentially. With this knowledge, they travel down to Earth and try to complete what Kaguya was unable to, which is growing a divine tree, sucking all the chakra out of Earth, feeding Kenshiki to it, eating the chakra fruit, and dipping. Momoshiki does this kind of a weird way. He doesn't bring a 10 tails of his own, even though he very much could have. Doesn't seem like it's that difficult to get them from what we've seen with the Otsutsukis. Instead, he catches Killer Bee and Naruto, tries to pull their chakra out of them, and also wants to catch all the rest of the tailed beasts. This doesn't work. The 5 current Kage, Sasuke, and Boruto, and I guess technically also those scientific dudes, pull up on Momoshiki and Kenshiki. Momoshiki gets pressed, fuses with Kenshiki. Apparently that's the thing they can do. Gets super powerful. Then Naruto, Sasuke, and Boruto literally kill him. But not before he gets a karma marking on Boruto. Which is technically interesting that he was able to do because he's a higher ranking Otsutsuki, which means he's probably never used a karma marking before because he hasn't had to be fed to the divine tree. Unless, of course, there is like a hierarchical system, in which case it's like, you've been fed to 10 trees. Congratulations, you're now a higher ranking Otsutsuki. Who knows? Smash cut 100 episodes. Now we got Jigen, 2,000-year-old bitch. And somehow Jigen has acquired a new juvenile 10 tails. He says him and Kaguya brought it down, but him and Kaguya brought the 10 tails down that was made into the original world tree that made the divine fruit that she ate and then bound with and then became a 10 tails and then was split into the 9 tails. So they brought 2. Regardless, Ishiki plans to feed himself.
Hey, that's a great editing because I can read somebody's voice who's getting heated by that.
To this 10 tails in order to grow a divine tree. And even though it will be weaker considering he is fatally injured, it's his only option because there's no other Otsutsukis on the planet. I know I skipped the time travel arc in Boruto. It's not canon. I don't care. It's a great arc though, and they do dress as the characters from Back to the Future. Go ahead and look. Boruto is literally dressed as Marty McFly. It's hilarious. And then in another circumstance of a higher ranking Otsutsuki using a karma marking, he karma marks Ishiki, and he's like, when I feed myself to the 10 tails and become the divine dream, it's gonna come back through you, homie. But Amado and Kashin Koji break Kawaki out of, his cell, essentially, and get him to the leaf. And then Naruto goes all Baryon mode, literally boxes a god in one of the most badass moments in the entirety of the anime. Sasuke's over in the corner being useless, and Ishiki gets tricked by a shadow clone. But here's the problem with karma markings. Even if you do kill the person who karma marks you, like Ishiki did, and Ishiki dies in his exchange after Naruto, you still become Otsutsukai. You become an Otsutsuki. In both Boruto and Kawaki are now about 80% Otsutsuki, which means they can be fed to the 10 tails in order to grow a divine tree. So sure, Shiki's gone, but Momoshiki isn't. Ask Sasuke's Rinnegan about that one. And now it is Momoshiki's plan to feed Kawaki to the 10 tails in order to grow a divine tree and eat the chakra fruit, thus checking off, the list of things that Kaguya couldn't accomplish. Only problem with that plan? Code exists. Code is a member of Kara with a white karma marking. Most karma markings are black, usually. So what does a white karma marking do? Well, a lot of the things a black karma marking does, except that the Otsutsuki who's given it to you cannot revive through your body. But they can apparently still impart their consciousness to you because Ishiki was able to reach out to Code kind of after his death. On top of this, it gives Code all of the abilities that Jigen had, and it Otsutsuki. I am so sick of trying to, it makes him an Otsutsuki as well. So now we have a person who's essentially as strong as Jigen, which neither peak power Naruto or Sasuke could defeat. And Boruto and Kawaki kind of need to step up. Well, that leads me to pondering how strong each of these Otsutsukis was. Was Kaguya the weakest one ever? Was it Orishiki? Was it Kenshiki? And the answer is actually kind of complex, because here's the thing. If we consider the feat that we've seen from a lot of the Otsutsukis, it's not as straightforward as you think. I'm willing to admit Orishiki is probably the weakest. He was defeated by Jiraiya, a child Naruto, Boruto, and a very weakened Sasuke. And obviously, Jiraiya was a powerhouse, but this is an Otsutsuki we're talking about, so at the end of the day, Orishiki, really nothing that impressive. He did obviously manage to beat Gaara a couple of times, and he did also manage to get his fishing pole into Naruto. But outside of that, outside of his ability to switch between his different dojutsus, he was nothing special. God, that scene though, where Jiraiya's like, "You're Sasuke, aren't you?" Just so badass. R.I.P. to my boy. And then after Urashiki, it's probably Kenshiki. In terms of weakness, Kenshiki is also very, very powerful. Like peak power Sasuke in the beginning of Boruto was essentially 1v1ing him, and Kenshiki more or less overpowered him. But also Chojuro and Darui were able to bang with him in Kenjutsu, and they're some of the weakest Kages in the history of the show. Also, he was a lower ranking Otsutsuki that kind of just bent a knee to Momoshiki, so it's okay to assume that he probably wasn't the strongest. But this is where it starts getting a little contentious, and my opinions get a little controversial. Let's pose for a second Kaguya versus Momoshiki. During the war, Sasuke had all 9-tailed beasts powering him. He had the Rinnegan, he had a 6-tome Rinnegan. He had his Amaterasu. Kakashi had DMS. He had a full Susanoo with Kamui shurikens. And Sakura was also very powerful. Not nearly as powerful as she is in Boruto, but also very powerful. Were any of those people outside of Kakashi as powerful then as they are in Boruto? No. Kakashi was exponentially stronger and probably arguably one of the strongest people in the show while he was DMS. But no, but they didn't kill Kaguya. They sealed Kaguya with Shibuya Tensei. And you know what you have to do to activate Shibuya Tensei? Naruto and Sasuke had to touch her simultaneously. And let's not forget that Kaguya killed Obito, who had 2 Sharingan at the moment, and that's no small feat. Yes, Kaguya had only ever eaten 1 divine fruit, and this tends to be the argument, is because we see these 13 divine trees in Momoshiki's realm. But we're forgetting that strength of the fruit is absolutely a thing. And Kaguya possibly fed half of a Shiki to the tree that she harvested. Ishiki, who spoils ahead here, is the strongest Otsutsuki we've seen, when Momoshiki has only been feeding Kenshiki, who was getting boxed by a dude with a creepy mustache and a man who looks like a little boy still. But you know what happened to Momoshiki since we're talking about him? He straight up died. And I know, Sasuke says,
I could now 1v1 a Kaguya level threat after all these years of trading in the shadows.
But the same people who bring that point up are going to bring up the point that Deidara has no ability to ascertain how much chakra that Sasuke has left in their fight. How does Sasuke know he can beat a Kaguya level threat? Has he been fighting Kaguya level threats? No! Using spoken testimony from a character on their power level without any actual other evidence is not good enough for me. They killed Momoshiki. They touched Kaguya. And Kakashi had EMS. And that was
they could have killed her. They were trying to seal her.
He had absorbed Kenshiki. And then, yes, obviously, Ishiki is...
Hold on. I just like they were trying to seal Kaguya. I don't think that they were trying to kill her. Because when they got the power, Hagoromo, the person they were blessed with the power from, said, please seal my mother. They probably were feeling bad and probably just wanted to fall through on his wish, seal her. If we being honest, they probably could have killed her. 1 giant Rasengan killed Momoshiki. Now it was powered up by Boruto and Naruto. But a giant big ball Rasengan. You tell me they couldn't hit one. And at the end of the day, too, if we're going to argue that all they did was touch her, they touched her after going toe-to-toe with Madara, 5-tailed beast simultaneously, Obito, 10-tailed Madara, 10-tailed Obito, the 10 tails itself, Naruto sharing his chakra with the entire war field, the thousands of shinobi, splitting his chakra into thousands to heal everybody in fight. I'm trying to think, what was Sasuke? Sasuke was, he banged on, he was banging on Kabuto. He was kind of tired too. He was jumping between dimensions to learn how to use his Rinnegan. He just got saved by Obito. He's probably low on chakra at this point. But basically what I'm getting at is they're both very low at chakra at this point of fighting. Before they even get to Kaguya, they're both very low on chakra. Naruto's been fighting for, I think they said it was he fought for a full day, maybe 2 days already. And then Sasuke was there for that last day of the war, but he had already been traveling and moving and fighting obviously before that. Yeah, I would say they were both, before even getting to Kaguya, like I said, they fought all, or at least we'll focus on Naruto, all 5-tailed beasts by himself, had just learned his transformation, so he was tired from doing that over and over again. Shared all his chakra with the whole Shinobi Alliance. Fought Madara, Obito, Jubito, Judidara, I guess you want to call him. That's a lot of big name people that he just fought. And still has some chakra left to get in a little hand touch, So he was instructed to seal her. They said that was the only way to stop her, was to seal her. They didn't say anything about killing at the time. So, while I get what he's saying, they did definitely seal her and kill Momoshiki. I think if they were trying to kill her, they could have did it. That's all. And they had to get stronger because obviously they're 10 years in the future. They're grown now. And we all know that they're stronger in Boruto. And now they were able to kill Momoshiki. I get what he's saying though. I definitely get what he's saying. I think it's an arguable point. I would not discredit you at all if you put Kaguya ahead of Momoshiki. Me personally, I'm still putting Momoshiki over the side. Let me know down below what you guys are rocking with.
Strongest. Naruto literally had to use Baryon mode, and if Ishiki wasn't literally dying because of Jigen's 2,000-year-old body, he would have killed him. And that's it. The history of the Otsutsukis
That I
and
agree
the
with
power
you.
ranking that I believe them to be in. If you're still here, that means you must clearly be interested in my content because it's fantastic, which means you should go ahead and like this video. Wrong way. Like this video.
I guess I could have went in and did there, but we got the last little bit there. But I completely agree with that point though. Shiki, most definitely the strongest out of all of them. Kenshiki, definitely the weakest. And then if you want to count in the non-canon, I forgot that man's name, but Fishing Pole Boy, definitely I don't even think that's a question, bro. I think that man probably get boxed up by 10-10. that boy is so damn weak. But Kenshiki, yeah, for sure the weakest one after that. You can make the argument, like I said, between Kaguya and Momoshiki, and then of course Jigen. Jigen. Yeah, I think I'm saying his name right. Jigen. That's how I would rank it too as well. Well, like I said, mine would be Momoshiki over Kaguya. I would not, once again though, slight you if you have Kaguya over Momoshiki. Just let me know down in the comment section which way you guys are rolling. But yeah, I love the explanations on this. It definitely gave me a deeper understanding of it because it kind of filled in a couple of holes. I knew a lot of things that he went over, but it filled in a couple of plot holes that makes everything else kind of mesh together that were seeming like plot holes. And then of course the ranking there at the end to kind of show who the weakest to strongest Otsutsuki is. Let me know what you guys think about it down below. And if you guys want more anime, more Naruto content, it'll definitely keep coming to the channel. Hope you guys did enjoy. It's me, boy Sean the Smooth, Black Kage, Black Avatar, and King Leo. I'll catch you guys in the next video, man. I'm going for the day. Peace.